Kandahar, the heartland of the Taliban. The first city the religious army conquered, and the last to fall when the US-led coalition brought their rule to an end. For decades, people here have known little but war.
Canadians asked for Kandahar, but they didn't actually, I don't think they actually realized how bad that was going to turn out to be.
I was talking to a couple of the foreign affairs guys, and I said, Kandahar, eh? That's going to be tough. And they said, really? Because we heard it's all good. It's not going to be that bad. I said, oh, yeah, I don't know who's telling you that, but that's a tough part of Afghanistan.
Now, a group of Canadian soldiers are returning to Kandahar province to rebuild and, if necessary, deal with any remaining insurgents. The first deployment of Canadians in Kandahar since 2002 will form a Provincial Reconstruction Team, or PRT, soldiers, police, and aid workers.
When we took over from the Americans, the Afghans realized it was a different group and the people running this show now. So when we lowered the American flag, everybody thought we were going to put the Canadian flag up, and we said no. We put the Afghan flag up. And they looked at us, and the Afghans were looking at us like, where's your flag?
Everything we did was anchored on our development funding. In that year, Afghanistan became the largest Canadian aid program in the world, so there was a lot of money to program.
Glen Berry was in charge. The ones that worked with him, we called him the professor, because he was very, very intelligent, very, very smart man.
His job was to extend the will of the central government of Afghanistan and Kabul out to the province and to get that message across to the local politicians.
We're going to leave the PRT and come down through.
They said, okay, you're going to do this PRT, Provincial Reconstruction Team. And that was the first time we ever did anything like that. There were aid people, like give aid to the towns.
I saw that mission as twofold. We were there to assist with reconstruction, but it was hostile territory. We were not wanted there by a lot of the people who live there and who know the ground, and so we were in danger every single day.
Whenever we went on patrol, it was usually 3 or 4 vehicles in a convoy. You couldn't accomplish anything inside the wire of the camp by just staying there. You had to get out and around and talk to people and show that you were there to assist and that you weren't afraid to get out and assist.
It's the beginning of a brand new mission in southern Afghanistan, and Canadian soldiers are facing new dangers. It's hard to know who is a friend or who is a potential foe.
I was Glen Berry's driver. Driving in Kandahar, you're driving full bore. You're got a Mercedes G-Wagon. It's a great vehicle. It's fast, it's agile. There's no rules, no regulations, just have fun. And there's sort of a Ben-Hur aspect to it, I guess.
We were always very aware of our security. Your head was on a swivel when you were in a vehicle. I mean, you were just looking constantly.
We're looking out for suicide bombers for number one, but sometimes the bad guys can use donkeys, donkey-borne IEDs. Sometimes it's a guy in a backpack. Sometimes it's a guy in a wheelbarrow. Sometimes it's a kid that wants just to throw a grenade.
One of the patrols, we just happened to stop at a, I don't even know if it was big enough to call a village. It wasn't uncommon when we first got there that people would retreat into their huts upon the arrival of a convoy, and we were fortunate enough to have a good group of interpreters with us.
I started working as an interpreter for Canadian Armed Forces when I was 15 years old. Till the end, you know, our neighbors didn't know where I was working. Being a woman in Kandahar and then working for a soldier, it's something that a prostitute will do. That's how Afghan sees it. It's a risky job.
So we'd have these shuras and all that, and we sit around.
What is a shura?
It's basically a meeting of people. We'd sit down there, and it's all on the rug, and we basically just sit there and talk. The oldest guy would talk first, and he'd say, this is what we need here. We need schools for our kids. We need this. We need protection, like that.
It's very important that the young kids see us as friendly people and not occupiers, because they're going to grow up and be adults pretty soon. And hopefully this generation will grow up without war, and that's the most important thing. That's why we want the kids to come close to us and talk to us and shake our hands.
First school we opened up for girls, I talked to some of these girls, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was so fascinated with their answers they gave me. They wanted to be airline pilots, not stewardess, airline pilots. They wanted to be the president of Afghanistan. They wanted to be the governor of the province. Their goals were amazing. And I looked at that and I said, that's how the war is going to end. I said, we're not going to win this war just by fighting.
So it was really going to be, you know, we use the term a 3D mission, so defense, diplomacy, and development. But somebody forgot to tell the Taliban that.
Kandahar was the cradle of the Taliban, its birthplace, its stronghold. The soccer stadium there had borne witness to executions, stonings, amputations as a result of Sharia law, all sorts of horror.
It was a really horrible and a brutal regime and the darkest day in the whole history of Afghanistan. And the people of Afghanistan will never, ever forget that time.
By 2006, when we got over there, there was already indications that there was probably more Taliban activity than we had anticipated. And the feeling we were getting was, okay, that this is supposed to be getting easier, and it's not, it's getting harder.
Taking advantage of U.S. withdrawal, insecurity increased greatly, and Taliban is reacting to that. Should we not have thought about that, and especially in Kandahar, because it is the heartland of the Taliban?
I was going in as one of the first two civilian police into the Kandahar Provincial Reconstruction Team. Our job as civilian police going into the PRT was to do a needs analysis of the Afghan National Police capacity in Kandahar province, and then decide what we could do to assist them.
The Afghan police was a mixed bag, from district to district, from town to town. Sometimes they weren't getting paid, sometimes they were corrupt. A lot of them demonstrated some pretty remarkable courage. A lot of them also demonstrated some horrific corruption and vices.
It came to my attention that police salaries were not being paid. It was being siphoned off. It was one of my local staff who made me aware. He said that, Nipa, you know, I hear this is happening. Maybe we should make a trip to the UN office and find out what they're doing. Unfortunately, you know, nobody paid attention.
The Afghan security forces, especially in southern Afghanistan, have a terrible track record of summarily killing and torturing Afghan civilians. And so when villagers were mistreated by Afghan security forces. In many places, they blamed the foreigners, in some places the Canadians, who brought them there in the first place.
I think one of the main things that people sometimes go back to Taliban is injustice within Afghanistan. When they don't get justice by the government, that's when they go and ask the Taliban to do it for them. Taliban start coming back to the power. We thought they were defeated and they will never come back to Afghanistan, but we were wrong.
Well, we were well aware of security issues, right? I'd had security briefings, intel every day. We had security updates every day. And you knew there were issues, obviously, and that we were prone to attack at any given time.
I was told a couple of times by the guards that there are people coming and asking about you. You shouldn't be coming here. One time I was called, like, at the meeting by the director of Women's Affairs, and she told me that, Mariam, I know you're a good girl, and we really need your help, but I also care about women here. He said, you're a child, and you don't know that you're at risk. That was the first time that my father realized that their daughter was at risk.
Canadian diplomats and aid workers have to reach out to the local populace, but the soldiers protecting them have to always be ready for attacks.
January 15th, 2006 started like every other day. You would know generally the night before, sometimes the morning of, what your mission was. My patrol group headed out to do what we call the presence patrol, which is exactly what it sounds like. We drive around the area and let our presence be known.
There was a patrol plan to Tactipol, small town, not that far away. And the mission of that was to go visit with the local government in the town. That was Glen's primary responsibility that day.
Glen Berry has his meeting on the way back, and we're just driving casually to our Provincial Reconstruction Team site. And as we drive in through the city gates, we're fairly close in the vehicles. There's 4 vehicles in the convoy.
We were told that there's possible suicide bombers in Kandahar. We get that all the time in our reports. Possible suicide vehicles driving around Kandahar, white Toyota Corollas, or this type of vehicle, this type of vehicle. When you watch them, you're on pins and needles. You're like watching every which way.
You always had your head on a swivel watching everything, and this was a difficult place to keep watching because there was so much activity.
And all of a sudden, Jeff, my co-driver, calls car right, and at that exact moment, I swerve as hard as I can left.
I remember just the feeling of this concussive wave coming at us.
And it lifts our vehicle up through the air, tumbling.
It was one of those things you couldn't believe it while you were watching it. It was corkscrewing through the air.
I pop out, my left leg's ripped off instantly, my right leg's destroyed, hands and face are on fire. My sergeant is on the radio, and he's saying, Paul's dying.
Their patrol was hit by a vehicle-borne IED.
He's a suicide bomber.
Absolutely. Mr. Glen Berry died instantly in that IED strike.
I remember every second. The pain, oh, the pain. It was like a chainsaw.
Jake Patton and one of my other corporals said, if we don't get rid of Franklin, he's gonna die.
2 Afghans start walking out of the crowd, right straight directly towards me, eyes locked on me. My buddy Jake Patton, he brings up his rifle and he's ready to shoot them dead. And then for whatever reason, he doesn't. So he brings down his rifle, and what they were doing was helping me. So they helped lift me up.
Just threw him in the front seat. And there was 2 sets of legs. around the scene there. We grabbed the two legs and they just threw them on top of Franklin.
Paul came in first. Oh, he was talking unconscious. The first thing he wanted to know was, is everyone else okay? Because Paul was their medic. So that would be the first thing that he would want to know, is everybody else okay?
What did you tell him?
I said, you don't need to worry about that right now, Paul. We're gonna worry about you.
And she said, I heard someone lost a leg. And apparently, in a big dramatic swoosh, I take the blanket and I go, that was me. I lost both. So, medic humor.
I would like to think whenever a medical professional is treating someone, it's always their best. But when it's someone you know, someone you've worked with, you think about their family too. You think, I have to be able to send him home. The absolute need to have him go home is overpowering.
I knew that I had to make it. It was a matter of just no ifs, ands, or buts. I was going to make it. If I'm still alive now to think this, then I'm going to stay alive right to the end, and I'm going to stay alive and see my family.
Tragedy in Kandahar. A senior Canadian Foreign Affairs official was killed in the service of his country today by a suicide bomber. 3 Canadian soldiers and several Afghans were grievously injured in the attack.
A sad ceremony as a piper plays a final farewell to Glen Berry, the Canadian diplomat who volunteered to come to one of the most dangerous places on earth, in the end giving his life to help Afghans rebuild their shattered country.
He paid the ultimate sacrifice.
At first,
His life.
you're almost numb because you're tied up in the events and what you have to do right then and there. And then you can start playing mind games, if you will, with yourself. Well, why did he pull out next to that vehicle, and why didn't it happen next to the vehicle I was in? The thoughts do go through your mind. Why Glen? Why not me? Why am I still here when Glen is not, and he was only 25 yards from me?
Did I give my legs to a future Afghan? I don't see it that way because I was protecting a diplomat. For me, my limb loss is about protection. So I was protecting a diplomat from an Islamic extremist, and I failed in my mission because he's dead.
Did you feel guilty?
Sometimes.
A day later, Canadian soldiers are going back outside the wire. They are going to continue their mission, but this time with a greater determination to ensure no insurgents get close enough to injure their comrades.
We looked at each other, me and Major Lutz, and said, you know what we're doing tomorrow? And we said we're taking patrols out tomorrow. Because if we waited a couple of days, they would have been too nervous to go out again. They carried on as normal.
Gunners, be extra vigilant in the church today, all right? And if it means you got to point a weapon at somebody, point a weapon at somebody, all right?
How did that alter the Provincial Reconstruction Team mission?
I think it was just greater resolve for us to do what we went there to do, to own that for Mr. Berry. I think it just strengthened our resolve to be there. We won't let this break us down.
The Canadians got a real shock with the death of Glen Berry. But I think it was also part of a harsh education the Canadians were soon to get in just how violent Kandahar was going to be.
After that, my brother got kidnapped. That was really a bad thing. My brother was only 11 years old. Taliban were trying to get information from him. They tortured him very badly. That still, you know, you can see if you ever meet my brother, you would see the scars on his back or on his head. And they kept asking him who the lady is, what she's doing, and where her address is. But my brother never, ever told them that she was my sister. And then they released him after 3 days and stuff. And my brother was totally in a terrible situation when we got him. My family left Kandahar within 24 hours, and they moved. My father stayed with me in Kandahar because if we don't work there, how are we going to change Afghanistan?